Hello, everyone. This is Patrick at Qdabra Software, and happy to have you here today. We are today talking about the new release of FormsViewer, and if you're in Seattle, at our house, we've got pumpkins on the doorstep. I know everyone is in different places these days. I hope you're having a wonderful fall season wherever you are. Before we get started, I'd just like to ask a couple of quick polls to get us in the right frame of mind here. First question is accessibility something that you think about for your forms? And maybe it hasn't been, but it is now. Accessibility means the ability for forms to work well with people who have disabilities. For example, they can't see colors, or they have a difficult time reading small fonts. And some of us are disabled just by the fact of nature. As we get older, it's hard to read small print or big print or whatever it is. So this is a quick question. It looks like most of you are saying no, but we do have some of you saying yes, which is great. And the next question I have for you, so I'm going to close that one out. So we had about a third said yes, about 50% said no, and then some of you weren't sure. So the next question, the final question here, is have you ever seen the dreaded invalid JSON error? This is something we're going to talk about today, and it looks like we have some people saying yes, but we also have some people saying no, which is good, because we don't want you to see the dreaded JSON error. Thank you very much. So 33%, actually 29% for yes, 43% saying yes more than once, and split 14% once and 14% no. So those mathematicians amongst you can do the math and figure out how many people are actually on the call. Okay, great. Well, thanks for that. Jimmy, I'd like to ask you to share out your screen there again, if you don't mind, and go to the next slide. I'm really pleased to introduce James Risch, who needs no introduction. Jimmy has been with us for, I want to say, 13 years now, if not more. And our theme today is trick or treat, fix or feat. Which means that we've got some features for you, we've got some fixes for you, and other things. These are the highlights. So if you go to our release notes, and we'll show those in a few slides, you'll see the full panoply, however you say that word, the full, all the stuff that we did. There's a lot of minor stuff. So this is what we felt like we wanted to demo for you today. And with that, I think I'll just hand over the mic to Jimmy, who's going to be doing our demo. And Jimmy.
Thank you very much, and hello everybody. I hope you're gearing up for a good Halloween. So yeah, today we're here to show you the new changes that are coming out in FormsViewer 6.2, which should be available and hopefully this week or next. Currently, I'm going to be demoing from our test site, which has all these changes already. So before I get into them and show them to you, let's just go down the list and see what we've got here. So in terms of new features, we've got some performance improvements. We found some places to speed up how FormsViewer was parsing some parts of the template, particularly rules and things like that. We've also speeded up the evaluation of default value formulas. If you're using those, they tend to slow things down a bit, but hopefully they're a bit better now. Optional sections are also a feature we've put off adding for a very long time. We found a couple of forms that we're using a ton of them, and we've thought, well, it's time to support these, just so in case anyone wants to use them, now you can. We've got a few accessibility improvements where things work a little bit better with screen readers now, particularly file attachment controls and people pickers. And we've got this new write log command that you can use to troubleshoot some stuff in your forms. For bug fixes, we're now showing validation borders on checkboxes and radios. That wasn't previously supported. We also found that there were some places where there were problems with adding or removing rows in repeating tables and sections. That should be working better now. And the invalid JSON issue, which Patrick mentioned. So up until now, there have been a couple of places where somebody could run into this error if they're just querying something and the query doesn't go quite right. We've made some improvements to that to give a more a useful error message in most of those cases. So let's go have a look at some of these changes. I've got a little demo form up here that I've prepared, you know, somewhat bare bones. It's based on our starter form, so it's got these neat little features like this down here. So let's just go down the list of features in order. So optional sections. What we've got here is an optional section, which you can add and remove it. This is a support request. So if you want to add related files, you can come in here and add that whole section. Now, what's different from show hide is that this optional section actually includes or removes this entire group in the XML. So if it's by default, this files group is not part of the forms XML. When you click it, it's added. If you remove it, it's removed. So I'm sure you've seen this control before. Maybe you haven't used it, but if you find a use for it, it's available there now. The next thing was accessibility. Okay, so let's see here. Let me turn on my screen reader. Okay, so one of the issues. Okay, so hopefully you can hear that a little bit. So one of the issues that was pointed out to us was that people could not tab onto this address book thing here.
It's not coming through, Jimmy. Just FYI.
Okay. So I'll just sort of talk you through it rather than trying to. Well, let me just turn it on and turn down my audio a bit. So one of the issues was that people could not tab onto this address box icon to show the people picker. So now the tab stops on it. You can hit spacebar or enter to open up the people picker. We've also made a few improvements within the people picker, where you're able to tab around things and it reads things correctly. So that's a little better. We've also sent these changes to one of our customers who is pretty familiar with accessibility. She's given us some feedback, and we're going to be making further improvements.
I think she's on the call. We want to give I think we should give credit where credit is due. Catherine, thank you so much for having us. Getting us to do this feature for you and for everyone else, for that matter. Would you like to say a few words about it? I will. I think I can unmute you here. Maybe not. If you don't want to, that's fine. But let's see if we can make you an organizer. We're adding you to the organizers, Catherine. I don't know how you feel about that, but if you wanted to say a few words about it. Hey, can you hear me now? Or can you say something now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Great, yes. So thanks very much for implementing this. This is a conversation we've had going on for a while, and I think it's been gradually improving in FormsViewer, which is great. So yeah, it was one of the things that made our form not usable for people using screen readers was that the people picker, they couldn't select anyone in it. So now that improvement there will definitely be, I think it'll make it now, everything in the form will be, basically they'll be able to see what's there and use it. As Jimmy mentioned, there are a couple of further improvements which I suggested around, I think, drop-down menus. And I think there's something else on people picker as well, although at this point I don't actually remember what it was, but I sent an email across to Jimmy outlining what else could be improved.
That's great to hear. Thank you for Jimmy.
Yeah, and we will be working on those. The other one that we added was that previously we couldn't open a file attachment control by clicking it or by pressing the space bar or enter. Now you can do that. You can manipulate it entirely using the keyboard. So that should help for people who can't use pointing devices or who have vision problems. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my screen reader now. Okay, So that's the accessibility changes we made. Next is this write log command. So we've come across situations where we want to see how long something takes, or see in which order things are happening, so that we can troubleshoot bugs in Forms, or figure out where we need to improve the performance. So up until now, we'd use an ad hoc approach, where we just keep adding text onto a field somewhere, which took some time to set up. So what we've got now is what's called this write log command, and I'll show you that in the template. So let's say I want to know how long my submit takes. What I can do is, and this form doesn't have an actual submit, it's just a starter template, but just to simulate that, I'm writing a log at the start of the submit and at the end of the submit. So when I go and hit that submit button, it's going to run that command. We can see that down here in the command history, I think. Okay, yeah, here it is. Here's start submit, and we've got a timestamp, including milliseconds, and the end submit here. So we know how I could subtract that in my head. See, it took about 50 milliseconds. What that also does, it writes to the browser console. So if you know how to open up your browser debug tools, you can see that in the console here as well. That doesn't include milliseconds right now, so we may be making changes to this over time to sort of refine it a bit. But yeah, from here we can see that the submit took less than a second at least.
Do you think that's
okay.
actually going to be useful for more for performance tuning, or more for like just bug diagnosis?
From my standpoint, the main reason I added it was for performance tuning. So I think it's going to be pretty helpful for that, in identifying which parts take longer than others. But of course, it can also help with the bug troubleshooting as well.
Cool.
Okay. So, okay, now the validation board is previously, even if a field had validation error, we weren't showing the red borders around radio buttons and checkboxes. Since that's not supported, it's not a feature that's provided by browsers to add, radio buttons and checkboxes just don't have borders. So we found a way to put boxes around them anyway, and I've added a rule here, a validation rule to this field, where if it's blank, it's got then it's invalid. So when the submit button has this action to get error count and get errors, either of those will run validation, unless you use this no validate equals false, I think.
So they have to add those commands to the form to get it to show, right?
Yes. There's also an option to have validation run anytime a field is changed. We don't generally recommend that because it can slow down the form, having to rerun that after every change, but that is an option.
What about the checkbox? Is that something that will also show up as a red text?
Yes, I'm going to show that momentarily. So what I've got here is that, and let me hide this debug section. So these are required. So if I hit submit when they're blank, then it will show a box. Now, if I pick non-urgent and pick these as my hours availability, submit again. Let's do this one too. I'll get red boxes around these two, which say early morning support is only available for urgent requests, and late nighttime support only available for urgent requests, which is something I've set up here. You see, if early morning is true, if this checkbox is checked and type is not urgent, then I get this validation message. So I can fix that by unchecking them or by changing it to urgent. There we go. Okay, so that is the validation boxes. adding and removing rows, we found some situations where these blue widgets here didn't show up on repeating sections. Now they do. So now you're good to go with those. I think a couple of customers have seen that in the past, but that should be better now.
We should probably say
Lastly,
that we recommend people add buttons because it's more usable than that silly info path form services drop down, which we've replicated. I mean,
true. Buttons, using buttons and rules to manipulate your repeating sections will usually give you more control over that process and what users can and can't do. So,
what about accessibility for that?
I suspect that's probably an area we'd need to improve a bit, because currently these will only show up on a mouse hover. So if you're just using regular buttons, then that would be a lot more accessible, I think.
Well, I'm happy to introduce our quality assurance lead right now, Tessin Islam, who joined us recently. Tessin, are you there? Do you have audio? Do you want to quickly chime in regarding whether you tested that or not? I'm sure Catherine would love to hear.
Hi. So yeah, I actually did do a lot of the accessibility testing, and a lot of this new improvement testing with FormsViewer 6.2. So I'm happy to report that everything should work properly, at least in terms of, screen readers and the validations and optional.
That's great
section.
to hear. Did you test this repeater though? Maybe that wasn't in the cases. That this question I just had for Jimmy about the drop down on the repeater.
I believe one of the forms did have a repeater, so I should have tested this as well.
Okay, great. Thanks for being here. Jimmy?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, lastly, we had some issues where if you had this, if you were using server-side query mode, which is now the default, if you have this unchecked, then some of the error handling for the data connections wasn't working that great, particularly with list connections. If there was an error in the connection, you'd get this unhelpful message of invalid JSON. Now here I have a button that deliberately makes an invalid list query, but instead of getting an invalid JSON error, I get a much more useful error that says list support requests does not exist. I've misspelled the name, so I can see that I need to go in and fix that right here. And that should help cut down on troubleshooting and issues like that. So
we should also
yeah,
update on Forms Designer, since you are leading that effort as well, and we are in, I think, Sprint 13 now, on our way to what we hope is the 1.0 release later this year, early next year, as soon as we can. It's been a huge priority for us over the last couple of years. Do you want to go back to that slide real quick, though, before we do a Forms Designer, a quick debrief? Shall we just mention, let's just go to the release notes here, if you don't mind. That there's a slide, I think this is the next one or the one after that. Yeah, so we're currently planning to do another release this year, and the current target is of on-prem changes for authentication. I think there's a few other on-prem things that we're adding. This is just, once again, what you call an excerpt of what we're actually doing, just some highlights. And you can see here we've got some other items that we've added to our 6.3 target, which is currently set for December, and that is our goal. There isn't a ton of stuff we're going to be adding into this, so we will have another incremental release by the end of the year. We're looking into App Store updates. Microsoft recently changed the SharePoint App Store to differentiate between modern apps, which support modern sites, and the classic ones. And so we're looking into whether we can support modern there. We're currently, you have to specify switch to classic sites to get to be able to actually add the app, I believe. And then for April Q1, end of Q1 of next year, this is our new target for Forms Designer 1.0. We had tried to get it done over the summer. We've made a lot of progress. We've had some resource outages in our team in Nepal, and that has we've had to retrain people and bring them back on board and bring them up to speed to help with the effort. So we're trying to take a little more of a realistic approach to the deadline. I think that we might have an update for everyone. Obviously, we're going to talk about today too, but end of the year was our second goal for the 1.0 release. Now 1.0, what does that mean? It means that we've got essentially the ability to design any of these forms from scratch in Forms Designer. Jimmy, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of where we're at with our march to 1.0? Do you have any comments to add there?
Yes, well, we've come a long way in the past year. We've got a lot of functionality around editing views, modifying rules, and some of the other auxiliary stuff, which I'll show in a moment. As many of you probably know, we had an original foray into making a designer a while back. This is a completely new effort, and this one is even farther along at this point than that one ever was. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Do you want to do a quick show and tell them?
Yep. All right, so here we are on our test site. It's going to load in a moment. All right, so of course the designer runs on top of FormsViewer. We're sort of melding them together. We're going to call it Qdabra Forms. So I'm coming here to manage templates and look for my list. Submit to list sample form. And currently, if you have the designer added to your form, to whichever FormsViewer you're using, you'll get these two buttons here: Design Legacy, which takes you to that old designer, and Design, which will open up the new one. And I'm guessing that some of you are seeing this for the first time, so let me just show you around a bit. So here's our expense report form. You can see the view is displaying here pretty nicely. I can make edits to it. I can add controls, like a text box. So a lot of things that you could do in the InfoPath Designer are available here. We also have rules. Come in here, add rules. Set a field value. Okay, we've got insert field or group here if you need to use that. Like that. Okay. We've also got a very cool new feature here in the rules UI, which is that you can actually add a rule to run a QRules command. So instead of having to go and pick, deliberately set the command field, now you just come in here, click this, and that's already set up for you. All you need to do is add the command text. And once we have a QRules command builder added to this app, that's going to be integrated here. It's going to be a lot more easy to use than any QRules experience you've had up to this point. But currently, you can just put a command here, and you're good to go. At the bottom here, you can see we've got a whole bunch of stuff. QRules, currently, if the form doesn't have QRules, you have the option to inject it here. The View tab, you can change some of the settings, like change the background color. And then we can see the background is now red. You can add an image or add a new view over here. You can manage resource files. Data connections, we're working on support for these. Currently, we support modifying SharePoint library submit connections. So So I can come in here, query libraries, and I think this is actually a little nicer than the functionality that's built into InfoPath, because this actually allows you to select the library you want rather than having to provide the whole URL for it. Now you can just specify the site and the library and you're good to go. Form has currently this just takes us to the form load rules, which are over here. Now these are the form load rules. SharePoint mappings. We've got the ability to edit these currently. This currently looks a lot like the mapping editor from our old designer app. We're going to be making some nice UI improvements here in the next week or so. So this will look like a lot nicer soon. And promoted properties, we're currently working on these in this version of the app I'm using right here. It's a read-only listing of all the promoted properties, but within about a month, I think we'll have the ability to add and modify them and then publish and then apply those changes to the SharePoint list or library, actually. So if you're interested in using this designer, it's available for beta testing. If you are on SharePoint Online, there is an app file you can upload to your app catalog and just install it. That'll actually give you a FormsViewer app called Forms Beta, which includes the designer. If you're on-prem, we can provide that to you as well. I think it's available as a free download from our InfoPath dev site. You basically just drop a folder in to your FormsViewer folder and make a change to web config and you're good to go. So just let us know if you're interested.
Might be a great time to ask people if they have any questions. And Jimmy, I just want to say fantastic demo on the spot there. You didn't expect me to ask you to look at the designer today, but really it looks like it's coming along. A lot of improvements since I last saw it, which was just a week ago. So thanks for doing that. Anyone have any questions for Jimmy on this or the previous? And Jimmy, let's just move back to the, let's go to the release notes actually on Qdabra.com and I guess
okay, yeah.
Quickly show them. I just want to kind of, while people are thinking about a question to ask you, and I guess there's release notes here. This is where we would expect people to go. And this, we actually launched the release a couple of days ago actually, and we found a bug. And thanks to Tessine's testing, she found a bug in the, or actually I guess it was Hillary that found the bug in the buttons, and we fixed that. So we hope to release this now for good, either today or tomorrow, like Jimmy said. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's another place I want to just direct people to, which is the website link there at the very bottom for the, click on that FormsViewer history. Many of you know that we've been working on this forever and a day, since 2014 when Microsoft deprecated InfoPath. We started the development actually in 2013 at the end of it because we knew in September of 2013 that Microsoft was going to deprecate it. And so we made this big bet, and we've been investing a lot of time and resource in building FormsViewer, which I would say at this point FormsViewer is quite mature, even though we continue to find things to add to it and we continue to move it forward in different ways. Our main focus these days is Forms Designer. But just kind of some context there on all these releases we've had. You can go to our website to check out the litany. In fact, we didn't do a demo of FormsViewer when we released the 6.1 release. So I'd encourage people to look at this. Just if you're, there's some interesting intel here. If you're like wanting ideas for how to change forms, might be a good place to go to see all the things we've added over the years. Evan's got a question. For FormsViewer Online, does the app update automatically? I'll take that. I think, yes, it does. In fact, if you were looking at the release notes yesterday, you might have seen it automatically switch to 6.2, which we rolled back because we found this issue. So, yeah, you just go to the FormsViewer app, click on actually, Jimmy, can you go back to that screen where you had up a moment ago? Just to show everyone and Evan where to go in FormsViewer to see the release notes.
Sure. Let me just.
You'll see it on the Manage Templates page 2 at the bottom. there'll be the current version. Maybe we should show that. Yeah, so on the main.
Yeah, so on the main page, when you first open the app, got the version here at the bottom with the build date and the link to the release notes.
Excellent. Any other questions for us? Let's go to that slide at the end then, Jimmy, and we'll just wrap this up here. We try to do these webinars, every other week or so. We've done, I don't know what the count is this year, but we've got quite a few more coming. And we're doing a webinar, I think, next week or the following week on rich text and some new techniques for handling rich text, creating it. And once again, we're very happy to have you here and happy to be announcing these new updates. Hope you all have a wonderful day and stay warm and watch out for the crazy creatures of Halloween wherever you may be. Thanks, Jimmy. Great way to go.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.